Ajit Bhai, whenever you're ready to start, happy for you to start.
Don't you have a...
No other slides.
Oh, no, you don't normally have slides on.
No.
Okay. Pranam, Jai Janendra. Welcome everybody to this Thursday class. I hope you're all enjoying your Thursday alternate week classes, and some of you are probably participating in the book club as well. It's my turn today to take one class. The topic is moksha. I will start with Pratna and then we can carry on. But I welcome you all to switch on your videos and ask any questions, either by raising your hands or asking directly through the chat function. But it will be good to have an interactive class if you're also inclined. Thank you. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Sabba Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Sabvesim Padmam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Sabba Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Sabvesim Padmam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Sabba Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Sabvesim Padmam Havai Mangalam. Veera Sarasura Surendra Mahito Virambudha Sansrita Virena Bheta Swakarma Nichayo Viraya Nityam Nama Veera Tirthamidam Prautamatulam Veerasya Ghoram Tapo Veera Shri Truti Kirtikanti Nichaya Shri Veerabhadram Disa Kamathe Dhanendra Cha Sochitam Karma Kurvati Prabhustulya Manovrutti Parshanath Shri Estuvaha Anguthe Amrutavase Laptitana Bandar Shri Guru Gautam Samariye Manavanchita Fadadatar. I don't have any slides ready, but maybe if I get around to completing some, then I will send them via Sandeep. Does any one of you feel brave enough to switch on your videos? I wanted to ask a few questions before we start this class. Thank you, Jayashree.
Pranam.
Anybody else? Thank you, Sandeep. Okay. In your normal context of daily life, do you ever hear the word moksha? And if yes, where would you hear the word moksha? Do you know the term purusharth? Anybody?
Mehnat, hardworking.
Yeah. Purusharth, meaning to make an effort. And it's linked with the effort to achieve something, to fulfill some responsibility, to earn something. Where would you have most likely heard if you have not been exposed to the term Purusharth on a regular basis? I'm sure many of you have attended events where the term Purusharth is commonly used. It's a ritual that I'm sure all of you have been to. Let me ask, how many of the participants are married? Only one? Two? I presume some of the others too are. Okay. If you got married in a Hindu ceremony or a Jain ceremony, would you have heard the word Purusharth?
Yeah, they nothing. Long time.
There are four feras, four rounds that the couple who are marrying go round a fire, and each of that fera, each round denotes a particular effort that this union of husband and wife is being reminded of what they need to support each other for in their efforts for a life that is fulfilling for both and a life that leads them on to better things. And these efforts that they are meant to be reminded of are four. So each round is to depict the four Purusharths. The first one is called Dharma Purusharth. The second one is called Earth Purusharth. The third one is called Kam Purusharth. And the fourth one is called Moksha Purusharth. Have you heard of this? I'm sure you have, because when the Maharaj is reciting his mantras and trying to explain, and these days we have a lot of silence during marriage ceremonies, and there are written texts there which explain to us what all the various parts of the ceremony are. And there is a write-up there, which I'm sure clearly explains the four Purusharths. Anybody wants to volunteer a guess about what Dharma Purusharth means?
Dharma. Is it following the dharma, whatever dharma you are following in terms of rituals and doing things? No.
The term Dharma is used in the context of duties.
Yeah.
So whatever spiritual following you may have, whatever gods you preach to, you sort of whatever gods you worship, the Dharma Purusharth is about your duties to those dependent on you, those who are part of your family, those who you work with, the wider society, meaning your community, your wider community, your country. So this is to remind you of all the various duties that we as human beings have. So as a member of a family, we have a duty towards other members of the family to ensure that their peace and comfort and their happiness is sustained, that we are not doing things that could potentially put them in harm's way or make them unhappy unnecessarily. So being aware of our dharma. So our dharma or our duties to our parents, to our spouse, and in this context of a wedding is particularly to remind you of your duties towards your spouse and your in-laws and the extended family. Earth. Does anybody know what earth means here? I'm sure you all know. Sandeep, you want to volunteer? No? Earth means livelihood, means money. So when you are embarking on a life as a householder, to run the house, to maintain a house, to pay the bills, to buy the food, to buy the clothes, to pay the bills for anything else, to if there is a need for health care, then all those bills need to be paid for in money. So an effort to earn a living is called earth. So effort to maintain, to fulfill your duties, the effort to earn a living, and calm. Anybody knows what calm Purusharth means? Calm is about your pleasures. So calm comes third. It's about the mutual pleasure that husband and wife derive from each other and the pleasures of their senses. The reminder here is that you balance your life in such a way that you are fulfilling your duties, that you devote enough time and energy to all these three purusharths in balance. So if somebody is constantly working and ignores his health and any meaningful pleasure in life, then the reminder here is to ensure that your life is balanced. These three come first. So when in the wedding ceremony, the husband and wife go around the fire, who leads the way in the first? The man or the woman?
The woman.
In the second?
Woman. Third is a woman, and the fourth is the man.
Okay, good. You remember that.
Yeah.
And what is the fourth Purusharth?
Is the fourth one is the Moksha Purusharth you just said.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we are reminded that you are born as a human being. The achievement of moksha is possible in this life. You in the life as a human being, not necessarily in this time, because it's not. Therefore, you need to make an effort towards that, and you need to mutually support each other towards your goal of achieving moksha. What do people understand by moksha? So you would have heard the terms mukti, moksha, nirvana.
Is it,
Everybody,
but for that is liberation, where somebody, all the karmas are void and cut down, and then you get to liberation.
yeah,
Yeah.
good. So that is the definition of moksha. Is moksha a concept, or is it just an idea, or is moksha an actual state and an actual place?
Both.
Okay, both. So it is not just a concept. It's not just an idea. It is a state of complete liberation from what?
From the life cycle, birth and death cycle.
Absolutely. So moksha is a complete liberation from the cycle of birth and death, meaning from sansar. And how does that happen? Why are we entangled in this cycle of life and death? What is the reason?
Is it because of our like gushais?
આપણી કર્મ બધા કપાવાના છે.
Yeah. So mukti or liberation or moksha or nirvana is a state where your future is completely permanent. You don't move from one life to another because you do not have any karmas that are attached to the soul that will take you to a different life, that will limit your power, that will limit your anand or happiness, that will limit your knowledge, that will limit your power. So complete freedom from anything that limits the soul. So moksha is a state of limitless anand, meaning happiness, limitless and complete and total happiness, which is the essential nature of the soul. Moksha is a state of total omniscience, meaning total knowledge, keval gnan. Moksha meaning you are not restricted by ignorance of any kind, because there is no karma left that blocks your ability to know everything in the universe of the past, present, and future. You are all powerful as the liberated soul, because there is nothing obstructing your power. And that particular, sorry, somebody wants to ask something? No. Okay. And that particular state is called moksha or nirvana. We are in this state of life and death. So somebody said that it is because of our karmas. Bhavana said it is because of our kashai. Karmas, one of the biggest reasons why karmas are bound to the soul is kashai. But there are other reasons. One, the most fundamental and the most important is mithyatva, meaning a misunderstanding or a wrongly held view about our true nature and about the world around us. So not actually understanding and accepting the idea that we are separate, the soul is separate from the body, and everything else in sansar is not part of the soul, and therefore not something that the soul needs to get attached to. And the soul is in itself completely peaceful and happy. Therefore, it does not need any external support or influence or dependence on anything to actually express or to experience happiness, to experience or be aware of enlightenment. It is completely independent of anything else. So once that understanding comes, then the soul's progress would begin. Then, because we get engrossed with experiencing everything that is of an external nature, so enjoying our senses, feeling attached and part of our body, so enjoying the pleasures of the body, and considering things around us as possessions and establishing a connection which says that these are mine. Attachment to parigraha of any kind. So all those things will attract karma. So mithyatva, avirti, kashai. Kashai is anger, greed, lust, deceit, krodh, man, maya, lobh, rag, dvesh. And finally, all the activities of the mind, the speech, and the body will attract karmas, which will then bind to the soul. So when this cycle of karmas binding to the soul stops permanently, then the state of moksha has been achieved. When a soul achieves that state of moksha or nirvana, what happens to the soul? So, for example, we recently had an event celebrating the 2550th anniversary of Bhagwan Mahavir's Nirvana. It's called a Nirvana Kalyanak. What happened to Bhagwan Mahavir's soul at that moment?
Goes to Silshila.
Okay. So the soul went straight up to Siddhshila from the position that Bhagwan Mahavir was sitting and goes straight up. How far is Siddhshila from where we are? Jambudvip Rakshetra.
It's the utmost top.
So how long is that distance?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Is it 7 રાજલોક થી વધુ?
7 Rajlok, yeah.
Hmm.
So that's a huge amount of distance. Where we are, there is 7 Rajlok below us,
Hmm.
where the Naraks are, and 7 Rajlok above us. Sithshila is at the top. And beyond, so it's right at the top of the Lok Akash, and beyond that there is Alok Akash. When the soul which is going to moksha, when it shoots straight up to above Siddhshila, it comes to a stop. Where does it come to a stop? It comes to a stop at the border of Lokakash and Alokakash, because it cannot travel beyond Lokakash, because there is no medium to help it move beyond Lokakash. And that is the place where all souls who have ever gone to moksha are there. And it will be the same place where every soul which goes to moksha will go up and occupy. Any guess how many souls are there up in moksha? Anybody wants to?
Infinite.
Infinite, absolutely. Because the road to moksha has been open for infinite time in the past. Souls have been going to moksha for an infinity in the past and will continue to go to moksha for infinity, forever in the future.
I just wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
You said the soul goes straight up from where you are, achieved nirvana.
Mhm.
So if another soul, another person is at the same position and achieves nirvana at the same spot,
Mhm.
and it goes straight up to Siddhshila,
Mhm.
would it occupy almost similar or nearby space?
It will occupy the same space.
Same
Yeah.
space.
You got a very good question, Sandeep. It occupies the same space, and because infinite number of souls have gone up to moksha, it is the way it is explained or the way it is described is that if you have a room which is closed and you take one divo in that room,
Yeah.
and you leave it in the center, then you take another, then you take another, and progressively you take hundreds, thousands of divas. The light emanating from those divas merge into each other.
Right.
They are not obstructing either, but they are all occupying the same space.
So they merge into each other, but they still have their own identity.
Absolutely. So they are all separate.
Okay.
Asubai is saying, when you achieve Keval Gnan, you achieve moksha. So Bhagwan Mahavir chose. Sorry, Asmuk Bhai, what is the question exactly? I didn't read it. When you have a clear Gnan, you achieve moksha. So Bhagwan Mahavir chose to stay on earth so he could show us to follow his way. Is that how you understand it, Asubai, Asmuk Bhai? Yeah, okay. So there are 2 steps. If you remember, for every Tirthankar and for Bhagwan Mahavir, we celebrate 5 Kalyanaks. One is Chyavan Kalyanak, second is Janma Kalyanak. So Chyavan Kalyanak is when Tirthankar Paramatmas soul is conceived in the mother's womb. Janma Kalyanak is when the Tirthankar Paramatma is born. Diksha Kalyanak is the day when the Tirthankar Paramatma takes Diksha, leaves his household and becomes a monk. Keval Gnan Kalyanak is when they achieve omniscience, and at that point, 4 Ghati karmas are destroyed so that the soul is no longer encumbered by Monia karma, Gnanavarniya karma, Darshanavarniya karma, etc. But the soul's existence in that body is dependent on Ayushya karma. The soul will stay on in that body, and the Tirthankar Paramatma will establish a tirth and then preach for however long his Ayushya is remaining, until the Ayushya karma finishes and the Tirthankar Paramatma's soul leaves the body and goes straight up to moksha. And that is not something that a Tirthankar Paramatma decides. It is not something that can be modified or altered at will. It is something that is predetermined. The Ayushya karma is still present. So Bhagwan Mahavir achieved Kevagnan at the age of 42. And for the next 30 years, as a Kevali Bhagwant, as a Tirthankar Paramatma, he roamed about preaching and establishing the tirth with monks, nuns, Shravak, Shravika. And that was not something that Bhagwan Mahavir decides or chooses, because that is not something that can be modified. Does anybody remember an incident where this particular concept was tested towards the end of Bhagwan Mahavir's life?
So what's the question? I didn't understand.
So Hasmukh Bhai is asking that, or the statement is that Bhagwan Mahavir achieved Keval Gnan and then he chose to carry on preaching for many years. What I'm saying is that that is not something that is,
You can't choose it. Yeah.
it's not a choice. It is something that is determined. When you achieve Keval Gnan, you may still have a long time before you actually go to moksha. But in a state of Keval Gnan, as a Kevali or the Keval Gnani,
Yeah.
you are completely vitragi, meaning you do not have any kasai. You are not binding new karmas that will stay with you. All you are binding is minor karmas that are bound one moment, experience the next moment, and discarded the third moment. So those karmas will not stay with you permanently, and none of those are ghati karmas, meaning they are not obstructing karmas. There are other minor karmas like Ayushya karma, Nam karma, Gotra karma, and those kinds of karmas. So we'll come to that if we are attending the Tuesday class, then we will be discussing these concepts in the Navtattva class. But for today, the answer to your question, Hasmukh Bhai, is that that is something that is not of a choice that is made. It is something that is predetermined. It is something that is unalterable. And the example that I was trying to give just now was
The Goa.
no.
No. Oh, okay.
Anybody has heard the word Bhashma Graha? No. So, why was the year 2500 years after Bhagwan Mahavir's Nirvana important? And why was it celebrated 50 years ago? Definitely in India, but probably all over the world as well. When Bhagwan Mahavir's in the 72nd year, when the Ayushya Karma was about to end, there wasn't long to go, Indra, the king of Devs, comes around to talk with Bhagwan Mahavir with a concern that he has. He says, Bhagwan, at the time of your Nirvana, there is a particular planetary alignment that is inauspicious. So he says there is a Bhashma Graha is going to set at the time of your Nirvana, and the effect of that Bhashma Graha will last 2,500 years. What that will mean is that Jain Dharma, or the right faith, the Dharma itself, will dwindle and continue to dwindle and be in difficulty for 2,500 years. And things will start improving only after 2,500 years. So Indra says, I've come to request to you that if you can extend your life in this body just by a few moments, and if you are alive in this body as a Tirthankar, I mean, if you are occupying this body as a Tirthankar, then the effects of the Bhashma Graha will be minimized. Indra Maharaja, probably knowing the answer as well, because of his serious concern about the future of Dharma, comes to make this request of Bhagwan Mahavir. And Bhagwan Mahavir explains to Indra Maharaja and says, look, you do know as well that that is impossible. Even Tirthankar Paramatmas cannot change what is going to happen. They cannot extend their life even by a nanosecond. It is impossible. What is determined, and this particular effect of the Bhashma Graha that you are afraid of is bound to happen and will happen. There is nothing that anybody can do about it. And I cannot extend my lifespan even by a moment, even by a minuscule amount of time. So this is just to expand on your particular question. So that is predetermined, and this was tested. Therefore, the end of the effect of the Bhashma Graha was an important milestone in how the Dharma, all the various influences that had made it difficult for the Dharma to progress within the population, were lifted at that time, and things have, as far as the effect of Dharma is concerned, we have seen changes everywhere throughout the world in the last 50 years that suggest to a lot of us that we are actually seeing the effects of the lack of influence of the Bhashma Graha. People are becoming, even though there are more problems and difficulties, there is a growing population. For example, people are beginning to understand that it is better to be vegetarian. people are beginning to understand that large-scale environmental destruction is bad. People are beginning to understand that wars are bad. People are beginning to turn towards spirituality. And that is not just necessarily within Jain Dharma, it is in many ways a universal phenomenon. So coming back to the topic of moksha.
Sorry, can I just?
Yeah.
But having said that, what you just said, it is still getting worse because of Kali.
At the time, yes. Yeah, definitely. But if you look at, so if I give you my personal example, when I started taking classes for children and then parents, maybe about 20, 25 years ago, or even longer than that, maybe. Some of these topics that we are discussing now were interesting to some people, not to many. The whole topic of needing to understand dharma was minimal. The activities that we see within our communities where more and more people are attracted. So I can bet if similar classes were established 20 years ago, you would have a much smaller level of attendance. And if you look around you, there are a lot of teachers like us who are conducting various classes, and that was unknown 20, 25 years ago. So those of you who may remember who are in my age group probably do remember that things have changed over this many years. I also personally find it much easier to convey some concepts to people that I think I would have found quite difficult that many years ago. So coming back to moksha, it is a place. All souls who achieve mukti or nirvana or who are said to be in moksha have traveled up to at the end of Lokakash above Siddhshila, which is, by the way, a disc made of sort of sphatic, it's like quartz material, which is a spherical disc of 45 lakh yojans in diameter, and it is suspended right up at the top of the universe. What happens to a soul in moksha? Does the soul do anything in moksha in terms of activity?
ના એમ જ રહે.
Okay. So these are some of the questions that in the past I've found difficult for people to understand and explain. I've once been asked this question, why do you want to go to moksha if there is nothing to do there? It's a valid question.
Yeah.
So does the idea of not doing anything appeal to us?
No,
No.
because there's unlimited happiness at the end.
Yeah. So doing something, the idea of not doing anything actually disturbs some of us because we are so used to engaging. When you are totally fulfilled and complete in yourself and you don't have any desires at all, and that is so in the state of moksha, when you are in moksha, then that complete fulfillment is totally satisfying. There is no desire and there is no need to do anything. The soul in moksha does not have a body. Everybody understands that?
So I was going to ask
Yes.
you that, in moksha, obviously the soul does not have a body, so you don't have any senses either, do you? Because you
No.
don't have
No.
eyes, ears, nose, whatever. So
And you don't have
basi-
a mind either.
yeah, so basically the soul is a soul which has got nothing to it.
Absolutely. Yep. And in its completely natural state.
Yeah.
Without any attachment, without any binding, without any karma obstructing any of its power. No senses, because senses are restrictive.
Yeah.
No man, because the man to a large extent controls us. We are supposed to be its master. But the mind goes on anywhere and everywhere without asking our permission. Our, by our, I mean the soul. And it is complete freedom in that state. So it does not have a body. Do you need food in moksha?
No.
No.
And what is that particular state called? What is the term that we use?
Moksha.
There is a term which is the term called anahari. Anahari. An means when you don't need any food. And when you do a Naivedya puja, there is a duha that accompanies that particular puja. When you put a sweet in front of or on the akshat, the rice grains that in the derasar, and you put a fruit and you put a sweet, the dua says that for many lifetimes you've eaten and eaten and you are asking for a state where you don't need to eat at all. So you're basically asking for moksha. So it's reminding us that our desire to eat is also unnatural. Because we are imprisoned in a body, we need to eat, but we also eat because we want to satisfy our senses of taste. So in moksha, there is total peace, total happiness, limitless knowledge, limitless joy, limitless power. And is that state temporary or permanent?
Permanent.
Permanent. Okay. So
Permanent.
permanent. What is the difference between moksha and siddhshila? Siddhshila is a place. Siddhshila, shila is an edifice. So Hasmukh is asking what is the difference between moksha and siddhshila? Moksha is the state of the soul where it is completely free. Siddhshila is the place on which the liberated soul who has achieved nirvana or moksha goes and resides on. Siddhshila is a representative of moksha. So when we see that symbol, that should tell us that that is where I want to go, above Siddhshila. Hasmukh, is that clear? Siddhshila. Shila is a large piece of a rock is a shila. Siddhshila is that particular structure at the top of the universe, which I described earlier as a is a disk which has a diameter of 45 lakh hyojans, and it is thick in the middle and thins out towards the periphery, and that is how it's described. So is the concept of moksha clear to everybody?
So one of the question raises in my mind, you just said that once you are in moksha, you have got limitless happiness, limitless knowledge, everything.
Mhm.
So then what do the Siddh Bhagwans over there do with all that knowledge they've got and everything? What do they do with it?
They delve into it, they experience it all, because knowledge and anand or happiness are linked. So it is a term called gnananand. You are in complete joy in that knowledge, and you're not reacting to anything, you are not trying to change anything. You are just there, constantly aware of everything that is happening in the universe, with every soul, with every pudgal, and everything that has happened to every soul and every pudgal in the past, and everything that will happen. You are completely aware, you are completely at peace, and you are completely joyful. You don't do anything.
So are they aware of what we are doing over here?
Absolutely, yeah. They're constantly aware of not just us, of every living being. And you know why we pray to Siddh Bhagwans as Dev, and Aryan Paramatmas and Siddh Bhagwans as Dev, and ultimately we all desire to go to moksha. When any one soul goes to moksha, then a soul is released from Avyavar Rasi in Sukshma Nigod to Vyavar Rasi. So the fact that we are sitting here and have come this far and have escaped from Nigod is thanks to a soul, probably billions and billions and maybe time cycles, infinite time cycles in the past, when some soul went to moksha, we got released from Nigod and we started our journey and have reached so far. So it is thanks to somebody making that effort to achieve moksha that we are here where we are.
So is it that all these Siddh Bhagwans are also helping us right now in every day, every step we take as well?
Not directly by making an effort, but indirectly by being there. The balance of the universe, I've read somewhere, is actually maintained by the power of and the balance between the good and the bad, the good and the evil. And the good is all those sadhu bhagwans, acharya bhagwans, upadhyaya bhagwans, sadhu bhagwans, and all the good men and women around, all the siddh bhagwans, all the currently existing kevali bhagwans and tirthankar paramatmas in Mahavidya Kshetra. All that balance is definitely supporting us, but they support us most by being an anchor, by making us understand what that state is, by leading us by the example. So every Siddh Bhagwan's journey to moksha would be an inspiration. So if we look at all the Kevali Bhagwans who ultimately went to moksha, and we look at all the lives of our Tirthankars, Paramatmas, they are all, the souls are sitting there, are in moksha, and their lives are an inspiration to us. So from that point of view, they are helping us, and indirectly their influence would be felt by us if we actually went deep enough to connect. And there are people who connect directly. There are people who go to special places where a lot of people have gone to moksha from and connect with the atmosphere there. So, for example, tirthstans like Satrunjay, Girnar, Samet Sikhar are very powerful in that respect. And they are places where every udgal, every grain of matter around on those mountains in the atmosphere is itself very pure. And your mind changes when you're there. So from that aspect, yes, they are helping us.
It
But
shows the path.
this shows the path, but also the influence on the universe is felt. I mean, everybody's good deed is felt around us. So if there is a good person around us, then the atmosphere around people will change. That is something that many of us may have experienced. There's a story related to something like this, but I think we probably don't have time. We got 3 minutes. Some of you may have heard this story. Do you want me to recite this very short story that illustrates this point?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, I just wanted to make one point before we go into that story, because we will end the class after that. For the soul to begin its journey towards moksha, one of the most fundamental qualities that it needs to develop is in this book that I just opened up yesterday by Param Pujya Panya Sri Padrankar Vijayji Kanivar. He was one of our greatest Muni Bhagwans, and everything that he did in his life is extremely inspiring. This particular book was probably written quite a long time ago, and he says Aradhana no Mar is the title of the book, Param Pujya Panyas Sri Padranka Vijay Ganivarya. And this is something that is quoted elsewhere as well, but he has got a chapter titled Mukti Thi Vasit Mati. I mean, how do you train your mind which is engrossed, or it is sort of colored by the idea and the desire for mukti. So it says, Marg Prapti Mate Sauthi Peli Saras Sastra Karoni Hoi, to te et che ke mukti pratye advesh kedavo. And he goes on to explain that when the soul begins to dislike its constant involvement in the sansaric activities and yearns for a release from this, and finds that the constant worries, the constant desire to enjoy sensual pleasures, the constant desire to work and earn a living, the constant desire to make money, the constant desire to connect with people. When the soul, the person begins to get tired of this and begins to feel that it would be so nice to actually escape from all this. And when it begins to pull away from those desires and moves towards a state where it says mukti pratya advesh, meaning that the soul does not dislike the idea of liberation. And this is important because most of our existence, we have actively engaged in constantly acquiring material happiness, constantly seeking other things, other wealth, other connections, other people, other degrees, other achievements, we have constantly run after those things without respite, and we have constantly felt that that is our goal in life. But when we step back and look into that and say, look, maybe this is not the meaning of life. Maybe there's something beyond that. I don't want to be spending all my time chasing fruitless goals, which I'm all going to leave behind me the moment I die. I'm not, and that is something when it develops a sense of need for complete mukti, complete separation from all this, and complete freedom from this prison, that would be the first step towards the path to moksha. So it basically says, એવો એક નિયમ છે કે પ્રતિપક્ષી વસ્તુ પ્રત્યે દેશ જાગ્યા વિના એની સામેની વસ્તુ પર અદ્વેષ આવતો નથી. So it says that unless you begin to dislike what is going on in sansar, you cannot begin to like the idea of mukti or moksha. Okay, having said that, hold on to that. That was the last thing, because that is something that will help us. This story that I'm going to tell you is about one particular kingdom where a king in his royal assembly once welcomes a fortune teller, an astrologer, who has particularly come to the king to warn him, and says, look, through my knowledge and the study of my science, I have observed and I've come to the conclusion that very soon your kingdom is going to experience a terrible drought which will last for many, many years. I think it said about 12 years. And I've come to warn you because then you can make some preparations so that many people do not starve, and that you can make some preparations, acquire grain, food, store it, and make arrangements for that to be distributed when the drought has actually set and people are suffering. So the king thanks this person, he believes him, and makes whatever arrangements can be made at such short notice. And the ministers and everybody within the administration and the people around are waiting, anticipating a period of very difficult time. But the time at which this particular event was meant to start, and when the drought was meant to start, it doesn't happen then, and it doesn't happen at all. And everything seems to be functioning well, that there's no drought, there is plenty of food, the fields are growing, all the grains very nicely, and there is no difficulty at all. So everything was actually running well. So the king then calls this person again, says, look, you predicted that this land is going to suffer great drought and people are really going to suffer, and nothing has happened. This was a year, 2 years ago. You are wrong. And I've called you to maybe scold you that you have set us all in a panic without any real reason. And the person looks back at his prediction, looks back and says, look, my science is correct. Everything was meant to happen as I told you it would happen. You're supposed to have a drought, but I don't know why you don't at the moment. So then there was another Gnani Guru Bhagwant with extrasensory knowledge, અવધિજ્ઞાન કે વધારે જ્ઞાન હશે એવા એક મુનિ ભગવંત સાધુ જૈન મુનિ was around, and he is called and said, look, this is the dilemma. We are trying to understand how this happened. And this Muni Bhagwan says that the astrologer is right, that was meant to happen, and the position of the stars suggests that that is an event that is definitely meant to happen. But the reason why it's not happening is because since that time in your kingdom, a very, very punyashali soul has been born as a human being and is living currently in your city, in your state, and he has such powerful punya that everything around him is functioning well and at a great level of peace and happiness. And it is thanks to that one particular person that everything is running well and that you don't have a drought. So the king then with his ministers goes to this person's family's house and it's a young child. And then there is a story that extends beyond that about how this child then grows up and what he does during the rest of his life. And there is also, I think, a story related to how he acquired that level of punya from what he did in his previous life. So maybe sometime in the future, we will try and revive this story, but I hope that helps. So this was in context with how can powerful people help us. So here, purity, complete independence, good everywhere changes the environment around and improves the situation, not just for that person, but the situation for a lot of people around us. I'll end the class here now. Is that okay? Okay.
Ajitbhai, just a quick question.
Yeah.
આપણે એમ કહે કે 84 લાખ આપણે ફેરા ફરીએ છીએ, so what does that mean then if we are saying that આપણે billions and billions
84, the term, the 84 lakh is the 8.4 million types of life forms that we can born into. That does not mean that we go from one to other in sequence.
okay.
The soul can jump from one to other in no particular order, depending on its karmas. But these are the 8.4 million different areas that the soul can be born in. But if you look at our life in the past, our journey, then it is very likely that you've been through each and every type of life form in this 8.4 million species, not once, but many, many times.
Okay, now I understand what 84 lakh means. I thought it was just lives, but it's not lives, it's a form.
No, it's not lives.
It's a form.
We would be lucky if we only had a
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant.
8.4 million lives, and that would be the end of it. And that is, I would celebrate that if that was the case.
No, so that's a form of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
84 lakh.
Yeah. Jinagna Virud, Kaimpan Bolyo Ho, Te Savimanonchan Gayakrit Smitsami Dukdam. If I've said anything that is against the teachings of our Sastras, our Tirthankar Paramathmas, and our Guru Bhagwans, ask for forgiveness. Sarvamangalamangalyam Surakalyan Karanam Pradhanam Suradharmanam Jainam Jeti Sasanam. Wishing you all the first steps towards the journey to moksha. Goodbye.
Thank you.